All right, good afternoon, everybody, and thanks for joining us. Excited to be having one of our strategic partners, Canopy Connect, joining us this afternoon.
Yeah, my name is Derek. I am from Canopy Connect. I started here back in November. Been here for almost a year. Before that, I actually ran my own captive agency in Michigan for a handful of years. I decided that wasn't the path I liked. I liked tech and helping agents, so joined a different little tech company out there before, and then now I'm here at Canopy Connect.
So let's talk about Canopy Connect for a second, because I think a newer technology to a lot of agencies out there. Tell us a little bit about what Canopy Connect is.
Yeah, so our little buzzword is insurance data intake. And kind of when that comes to play, what that means is when a prospect, personal commercial, raises their hand and says, hey, I'd like to get a quote from your agency, that's where Canopy can be introduced. And we kind of phrase ourselves as Plaid for insurance. And kind of what that means is we efficiently streamline the collection of data. So traditionally how everyone knows us by is somebody clicks who they're currently with and it'll actually log into their State Farm account. And then we are able to pull their documents, all their policy information, and share it to the agent and get it to where it needs to go.
Okay. When you look at the platform itself, I mean, obviously very unique and innovative. What inspired kind of that creation and the start of Canopy Connect?
Yeah, so our owner, CEO Toga, was talking to another agent that was a friend of his, excuse me. She was from San Francisco. And as she was talking to her on the phone over the weekend, she was saying, hey, Toga, I got to let you go. I got to drive down to this prospect's house. I got to collect her deck pages so I can see what she currently has to quote it. And Toga goes, well, wait, tell me what that means. What do you mean by that? She goes, well, when a prospect comes to us to get insurance, we have to understand kind of what they have. And so normally we ask for deck pages. Well, this client can't find them and I need to see what she currently has covered. So I have to drive down. And he goes, how often do you have to do that? And she goes, all the time. So Togo goes, man, there has to be a better way. And this kind of comes again to Plaid from the open banking world where consumers share permission. And he goes, man, there's this technology where it seems like we could figure this out. So back in 2021, Toga designed Canopy Connect and said, how do we get this to be more efficient? We started out with 30 carriers. Today we have over 300. We have 5,000 agencies using Canopy Connect, and that's today's number.
One of your guys' core values is be worthy of trust.
Sure.
So, and you just talked about the number of carriers you're working with today, over 300, working with data, working in the technology space. What are some of the things that Canopy has in place to help protect the customer data and make sure the technology is strong?
Yeah, I think worthy of trust is definitely number one when it comes to our core values. Agents trust us to be responsible of a prospect's data, and we have a lot of it. We were the first ones in our playing field to actually get SOC 2 certified, which in the tech world, that's the hardest thing to get accomplished when it comes to security. And so we have regular pen tests that we pass flawlessly, never had a security breach or anything in that world. So right in our initial terms and conditions, it says, we do not want your data. The agent owns this data. We'll never sell it or into that. So worthy of trust is definitely number one for us.
Okay. Obviously, you guys are leading technology in this space. There's not a lot of other vendors that kind of play in this world. Another one of your kind of mottos is find a way. Can you kind of share an example of how you guys work through that and trying to find a way of new innovative practices that you've been able to build into Canopy?
Yeah, I think the buzzword today is AI. Everyone's kind of using AI in their way. And what's really cool from an engineering and development time, our engineers are the best of the best when it comes to developing. But to actually integrate to carriers is actually really, really difficult to make the structure, be able to pull the data back and get the information accordingly. So we were tasked with how do we get this to be faster so we can get to market quicker on things. And so our engineers said, hey, let's try some AI and get that done. And they were able to accomplish an integration in just a matter of hours compared to where it used to take us a couple of weeks. So that's kind of that value of finding a way and being able to set the bar even higher and getting more of those connections to carriers.
Okay. So kind of a follow-up to that. So you talked a little bit about AI, technology is evolving like crazy in the insurance space today. Hence Canopy Connect.
Yeah.
I mean, 5 years ago, the technology wasn't even there. What kind of metrics, feedback loops do you guys use as an organization to make sure that you're staying innovative and staying kind of at that leading edge of where you're going.
Being trusted by 5,000 agents, there's a lot of feedback we get from them. And that's our number one revenue opportunity. How do we advance and create new opportunities? I think one that I often, as an agent myself, was sometimes prospects don't want to log into their carrier. What are the other ways that we could innovate and create processes that a consumer can go through? So that was custom forms. What that means is if a prospect doesn't want to log in, they have the ability to go in through and fill out a manual form where it asks them all the information. Why that's important is because we can still collect the data however the consumer wants to do business with the agent, and then we can get the data into where it needs to go for the agent to save them their time and efficiency.
Okay. Derek, can you speak real quick on, when Canopy rolled out, initially was a personal lines kind of focused process. I know you guys are starting to get more and more into that commercial space. Can you share a little bit about what you guys are starting to do there?
Yeah, so we now cover 61% of the commercial market share. We're really, really proud of that number. And so if you think about the market share as a whole, there's a lot of standard carriers, Hartford, Chubb, Liberty, State Farm, those kind of people. Those are a slam dunk for us. We can get those all day long. There's a little bit of those non-standard E&S that we can't, there's nowhere for a consumer to log into. So how do we get the data from there? So we've really been paving the way of that 61% of the commercial market of how do we collect data from them to be able to pull it in for the agent. One of the coolest examples I have is prospect came to an agent and said, hey, I'd like to get a quote on my home and auto. They were with State Farm. And what was great about Canopy is they logged in their State Farm account, which also had their business accounts part of that process. So we were able to pull in the BOP, the CPP, and the general liability, and then the commercial auto all in one swipe. And the agent was like, oh, I didn't know you had a lawn care business, and was able to quote that. Also part of that, when we pull in information, we have the ability to pull in loss runs. They're not an official loss run, but the idea is that we can preliminary say, hey, they've had 3 claims, so the agent knows right off the bat, hey, they're too high of a risk for these carriers. I can go over here and quote them, and you can get that rate about 30 seconds later after prospect logged in.
Well, we definitely appreciate the strategic partnership we have with Canopy Connect. Appreciate your support of MarshBerry Connect, and we thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you.
Thanks, Derek.